Hello, everyone's. I am here for my review of Housewives of Atlanta, season 14, episode 13. If you are new to my channel, welcome. I am Lady T. I like to do reviews on scripted reality shows, and also do reactions. If you're returning, you one of my peoples, oh, welcome back. So, we don't have any comments from last week's videos, so we're going to jump right on in. Kenya and Drew, they FaceTime and as Drew was getting her lashes done because y'all know they going to Jamaica. So, she trying to look cute. And I was like, I don't blame her, but like, I'm scared to get lashes done because like I heard some horror stories. But then at the same time, I don't be going nowhere. So why do I really need to be putting some lashes on? But I was like, that would look cute. Like one day I come on here with some lashes. Yeah, just for me to be just, going around the house and making a few videos a week. But yeah, these two get to talk about Sonya and her terrible, like, hosting party skills. Like, the food was nasty. There was no bartender. It was like the decorations look like they came from Party City or the Family Dollar. It's like, girl, you put no effort into this party. And I think this was it was started out as we're gonna meet up and talk about the Jamaica trip. Mainly, I need y'all to act like y'all got some sense because even though I'm breaking your own, I am there for business and I want to, have a nice business relationship with the people who are paying for this trip. So I'm gonna need y'all to be on your best behavior. And then she found out it was Sheray's birthday party, and like it was seeming like she found out about Sheray's birthday party like within a few days. Not enough time to get the adequate caterer, decorations, bartender, and all those things. But I'm looking at Drew and I'm like, ma'am, I know we are not talking about how cheap everything was when you was over here regifting $1,000 wigs when they had that little exchange Christmas birthday, not birthday, but exchange Christmas gift situation like last season. You showed up with $1,000 wig that you had already used several of the times. So we're not gonna sit here and talk about people being cheap. Speaking of Drew, we going over there with Drew and Ralph. Ralph, they still going back and forth about him adopting Josiah. At this point, I was like, this man, he don't want to adopt a Josiah. Just point blank, end of the period. He didn't put it in. Her and her mama said that he was going to do this. But then when he went to talk to Josiah's biological father was like, he don't really feel comfortable with that. And I'm like, why are we going to the man who has not been here to get their permission, to get their advice, to get how they feel on any situation? Y'all had that man, okay? You want to see your son? We set up a time and date last season. And what did he do? He did not show up. So why are we even involving him at this point? Like, does he still have his parental rights? He's just not showing up. I have questions. Then we got Ralph with this book about being a stepdaddy. Now, is it that you don't want to adopt him because you're writing a book about being a stepdaddy? And okay, I can't be a stepdaddy if I adopt this boy. This whole situation with Drew and Ralph is getting on my nerves, and it's kind of weird if you ask me. The back and forth, I couldn't do it. Then it's like you writing this book, but you don't have no say so in what's going on in this book. You want the child that I birthed. Ross showing. Like, why you do not need to make an appearance, Rob. You want the child that I birthed front and center on this book. You want me, you, and our other kids in the back of the book. But I don't have no say so in what's going on in this book. And then the publisher, she's sitting over here co-signing Ralph. And I'm like, Drew, this man, he don't want to marry your child. He don't not marry. He don't want to adopt your child, but he's willing to make a quick buck off of what y'all going through as a family, and to have the child that he don't want to adopt front and center on this book. This is what's going on in your household. I wouldn't ask Ralph any other time about adopting my child. You gonna do it? Either you gonna do it, or you gonna do it. We're not listening to people who haven't been in the child's life since I don't know when, who is not helping financially. We're not asking him how he feels. This is about Josiah. And it's clearly like you don't want to do it. You so focused on this person who has not been here for Josiah and how he feels instead of the relationship that you have with Josiah. I was just like, oh my goodness, this is making no sense at all. It's the day of the trip. Now Sonya, she didn't book an early trip. That's me. When I go to visit my mama, I make sure I want to get on that 6 o'clock flight. 6 a.m. flight. So that means I'm up at 3:30. I want to get to the airport by 4 o'clock. I want to be sitting around waiting because sometimes you get to the airport and there's no line through TSA. Then other times line as long as I'll get out. Now I'm talking about in Bush Airport, going through the area where Sprint is at. Not Sprint. Or Sprint. This one Sprint don't have no airline. What's it called? Delta. I don't know why Spirit was trying to, the spirit of the Spirit Airlines was trying to take over me, which Spirit Airline, I rode with them, I think 3 times, and I don't like it because, one, to leave out of Houston, they only had nighttime flights. Okay, we just going to little backstory. Nighttime flight. So by the time I did get to Atlanta, the train had stopped. So I had to walk through the Atlanta airport. Coming back from Atlanta to Houston, they only had 6 a.m. flights. Coming back home, I don't want to be up early. I want to sit around, eat breakfast, hang with my family before I leave. But anyways, Ross he didn't left his passport at home. So now he gotta take a Uber back to the house, get his passport. When I tell you I be stressed out when traveling, I always make sure I'm getting better at, packing up, a week in advance. But I will do a double check the night before and the morning of to make sure I have everything that I need. So yeah, like trying to get to the airport. If y'all have never been to the Atlanta airport, pulling up into like getting to whatever um airline you're going through, it is a lot of traffic. So I could understand like the stressfulness in which it is. But yeah, where we at? So they didn't got to Jamaica. They own the golf carts, getting to their rooms. And Kenya spots a dude spots her, so we gotta turn around. So Kenya can become acquainted with this dude. It was more of Sonya was doing all the talking and Kenya was just sitting there. Like Sonya was Kenya's wingman at that point. Candy, she hungry at this point. Like we ain't got time for all this. Kenya, I know you didn't. Your cousin was not able to come with you, and you didn't find this new little boob thing, possible boob thing. I'm hungry right now. Y'all gonna have to wait. Let us get our room keys. So I go over and give me some room service right quick, and you go ahead and talk to that dude all you want to, but let me leave and do what I gotta do right quick, cause I'm hungry right now. I was like, I'm not mad at you. We see Kenya a little bit later, and you know, she day one she'd have met her a friend. It's not we marrying each other, none of that. This is somebody who can be my companion while I'm here in Jamaica. She talking about some. She usually has a good feeling about men, and she's usually not wrong. And Bravo was like, really? Because we have this beautiful bean footage of all the men that was not right for you. See, one Walter. First season you was on there. You was darn near asking Walter to propose to you. You was wrong about him. Matt, he helped you build your house, do all these other things, but he wasn't all the way right in the head, and he was over there busting the windows at your house. That you had a good feeling about him. You was wrong. Mark, everything looked like rainbows and puppy, and everything was wonderful when you first got with the man. Or is it that he just showed you that person and then the real Mark came out when John was married? You see how that was. So your track record with men is not the best. We showed you our beautiful bean footage. What can you have to say about that? I apologize about drinking this coffee. It is 10 o'clock in the morning on this wonderful Tuesday, and this is what I do at 10 o'clock. So I'm not even going to, I apologize, but this is what I do. I'm not smacking on on the camera, just drinking me a little bit of coffee. Where we at? Now, y'all, I'm gonna need y'all to put that in the comment section below. Did Kenya's friend look familiar or was I tripping? I was like, he looked familiar from somewhere, don't know where, because y'all know my memory just be, it be doing its own thing. It don't want to really remembering stuff. Words that come naturally just be slipping my mind when it's time to do videos. So was I the only one that thought that he looked familiar? Drop that in the comment section below. Now it's time for dinner. And the subject of adopting Josiah comes up. Now Ralph is talking about Josiah's biological father wants to be in his life. I'm like, isn't Josiah like 8 years old now? So now that he's out of the baby phase and got to get up every few hours to feed him, making sure he ain't getting into nothing, making sure you got the baby gates up, all the tech, all that stuff to keep the baby from harming themselves. He out of that phase. He out of the potty training phase. He's in the I'm almost close to where I'm in middle school phase. So now you ready to be daddy? Now you want to be in this young man's life? And still, why do we care what he wants when it comes to Josiah? Because he hasn't cared in the past. He hasn't showed that he cares. Child. But Ralph says he loves Josiah as his son and he looks at him as his son. It's just that I'm not going to give this young man my last name because his daddy, who is not shown to want to be in his life, is now saying he wants to be in his life. Now, if we're going by things, it's been like 2 years since the last time we tried to get Josiah's daddy to be in his life. Y'all giving this man too much grace. All right, Ralph, just say you don't want to adopt him. Stop blaming everybody else on the reasons why you don't want to adopt this young man. This is when Marlo, she gets into I was in foster care and this, that, and the third, and she's making her stance. And Candy is wondering why Marlo's going so hard for Ralph adopt. Well, I guess it's because she know what it's like to be in foster care, and you knowing that your foster mother or foster father does not love you like they love their children. So it's kind of like you should want to adopt him so he can feel the love because right now he don't feel it. But Candy's like, you are so invested in what is going on and you going so hard for this situation after you not go chuck the deuces to your nephews. Like really, this is what we doing. This is when we going this whole back and forth with Candy and Marlo. Then Marlo's like, well, I think it's weird that you, excuse me, you put your mama before your husband. They going back and forth, and Candy was like, well, I got a husband. What about you? And this is when I looked upon Manjetta's husband's face. Now, I apologize. I did not get this man's name. But it was like, oh, shots fired. This is when I was focused on Manjetta's husband because he was sitting there like, God, did you hear that? Oh, that was a finish her move. That was, and I was sitting there like, I am Manjetta's husband, and Manjetta's husband is me because I cannot. When something's going down, my face gives it away. I can keep quiet like the best of them, but my face is when it's gonna be like, my face is doing all those things, and this is what Manjetta's husband's face is doing. At this point, this young man that Kenya has just met and they'd already drilled with him, my crew, we something else. Which, first of all, why didn't you Get this man your room number, invite him into your room, girl. That's all kinds of unsafe. He is like, you know what? This is not my crowd, and exited stage left with the quickness. Manjetta's husband's over there is like, oh, so we get dinner and a show. I am here for it. And I was like, yes, Manjetta's husband. I was cracking all the way up, just like his reactions. Because he's like, oh, and you can't tell me that when Manjetta and her husband got back to the room, they wasn't like, child, did you hear what Candy said? Like, girl, yes. Not girl, yes, because it's like, yeah, child, I did. I ain't think it was going to go that way. This is when Todd steps in. It's like, Marlo, let's not let's not act like this because I know how you came into this group. Oh, Phaedra brought me into this group. You bought your way into this group. This is when she going on the, well, Ty was up there talking about some old country southern girl and this, that, and the third. And she can't. It's like, first of all, I didn't speak to Todd until the last day of their trip in Africa. So are you talking about before we got together? At this point, Marlo was grasping at straws, trying to get back at Candy, and Candy was steady, doosh, 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 just firing them at Marlo. And I was like, well, Marlo, you know, when it comes to Candy's mama, her man, her money, and her kids, she don't play. And you brought up her mama and her man. Candy did sprinkle in there. She's like, well, Candy, you know what it's like to raise your nephew. She's like, I do. And guess what? I raised him. I never kicked him out the house. He grown now, and I still help him out. And I was like, that's one thing Candy do. She makes sure she not gonna takes care of her family, whether it's giving them job, giving them a little bit of money, helping them go to college, what have you. Candy is making sure that outgoing that her family is safe. They taken care of. As Marlo is steady grasping at straws, she gets to, well, you only known in Atlanta. I can say this. I knew of the group Escape when I was a young child, around like 94, 95. I knew about Candy before she got over Housewives of Atlanta. Marlo, I only know you from Real Housewives of Atlanta. You may have done some other things and ventured out, but Candy was known before this show. And she's ventured off and done things outside of Atlanta. So how is it somebody who has done plays, even though they didn't do well, and was working on Broadway, only known in Atlanta? Questions. They were steady going back and forth. I was steady cracking up at Manjetta's husband. It was just hilarious to me. Why, Car, you being so loud? So, that was the gist. If I left anything out, by all means, leave a comment below. If you are new to my channel, welcome. Feel free to subscribe. It is free all day, every day, free 99. Make sure your notifications are on so when my beautiful face puts up a video, you can click on it, you can like and share with your people, and you can come over and be one of my peoples. If you're already one of my peoples, welcome back. Y'all know what to do. Tell your people to tell their people to come over and be one of my peoples by clicking that icon above. This is Lady T signing off. Have a good one.